Hello, my name is Josh and I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Welcome back to my channel. One of the most difficult parts of dealing with a divorce is the kind of criticisms that you get from people while going through a divorce. Sometimes those criticisms have some truth to them. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're getting criticisms, or I'd say bad advice, from people who've never been through what you're going through, or people who have a lot of misconstrued or false information about your situation. Some of the difficulties come from ward members who used to be friendly with you but now kind of give you the side eye. Some of it may come from people who you thought you were your friends, and now you're finding out maybe they're not as good of a friend as you thought. Some of it may come from family members or neighbors or others. And it's really hard to deal with. You know, some of it, actually really the most difficult part is some of the things that your former spouse or soon-to-be former spouse says about you. Some of which may be entirely false, some of which may be, kind of something that the truths that have been entirely misconstrued, or any number of other situations. That can be really hard to deal with. And so as I was struggling to deal with these things, I turned, surprisingly, it wasn't something I expected, but I surprisingly turned to poetry and great speeches of history, something I would have never, frankly, beforehand guessed or where I would turn to. But it is an area where I have found great sources of inspiration and help. One of the great speeches in history was given by Teddy Roosevelt in 1910, and it's now referred to as the Man in the Arena. I have either read or listened to parts of this speech quite literally hundreds of times at this point, especially whenever I'm dealing with some struggle. So I'd like to read a portion of it to you now. The poorest way to face life is to face it with a sneer. There are many men who feel a kind of twisted pride in cynicism. There are many who confine themselves to criticism of the way others do what they themselves dare not even attempt. There is no more unhealthy being, no man less worthy of respect, than he who either really holds or feigns to hold an attitude of sneering disbelief towards all that is great and lofty, whether in achievement or in that noble effort which, even if it fails, comes second to achievement. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Like I said, I have either read or listened to this hundreds of times. It is difficult. Sometimes while you're in the divorce process, while I was in the divorce process, and even afterwards, at times we feel like we are the man or the woman, as the case may be, in the arena, that we are covered in dust and blood and sweat, and in an attempt to either save our family, to save our marriage, or to save ourselves, or to save our children. Whatever the lofty goal we have as we are striving to make it through this divorce, just remember, it's not those who criticize us who count. It is those of us who are struggling. Those of us who, of course, are going to make errors. In this difficult time, we're going to make mistakes. But the trick is we pick ourselves back up and we keep trying. In my case, my efforts didn't save my marriage, but I know what it's like to strive for that. And in the end, I saved myself, and I saved, I think, my children, and I saved what could be saved. And I'm happy with that because I am familiar now with that effort, and I'm willing to help others who are in that same struggle. I hope this speech helps you. I will leave a link down below to someone who reads it with a much better voice and voice intonation as he reads it. Again, my name's Josh. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but this channel is not endorsed by the church. All of my thoughts are my own. I'm not a counselor, nor am I a therapist, but I'm someone who's been through divorce, who's learned a lot of lessons along the way, who has a lot left to learn, but I'm willing to share what I've learned in hopes that it helps others. Thank you.